Hey, it's Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida. How you guys doing? Uh, if you're not up to date, we had basically the trash truck, or whatever you want to call it, for the city on Friday afternoon at 3 to 3:30 in the afternoon, which I go live on Friday nights. And it's like, okay, what is that about? So the trash truck came and it has a crane which comes down like this, picks up the trash, moves over, puts it in a truck, comes back, picks up more trash, so on and so forth. So they did our uh, trash in the front. They only come once a month for the trash. And then they did our neighbors, and that was successful. Then that truck went around the corner. Now, around the corner would be the backside of the houses that are on my street. And what they did was, I don't know how, because if you're picking up trash here and moving it over to a truck and depositing it, somehow that claw grabbed all the power lines, Comcast, the cable trunk, and also it grabbed the AT&T fiber line, which I am on AT&T fiber. So that went out on Friday in the afternoon. So we didn't have power Friday night. I used one of those battery banks that actually Kyle got me for me 2 years ago on my birthday. It gave me light in the kitchen and then in my bedroom, which was great. So our AT&T did not come back on, so I could not even broadcast Saturday night. I could have broadcasted Saturday night, and obviously not during the same time as Mr. Camera Junkie, but that didn't happen. So the AT&T company left just a couple of hours ago, and so this is a dual-purpose live stream. So one of the reasons is I got to see if everything's working, because when the power went out, that truck brought the wires down, and on my side of the phone pole, there was a whipping wire that was sparking whenever it touched anything. So it was causing everything in the house to go on, off, on, off, on, off. And when the wind started to pick up a little bit and blow, it would do it more. And then when the wind slowed down, it would do it less. So I don't want to break the computers or the cameras or even the air conditioners and stuff like that in the house. So I started unplugging everything real quick, powering down the computers. So this is kind of, I want to see if we are all back live online. And then the second thing is, the day before, I got this Lumix S9, which is a Panasonic camera. I'll show you the box. It's right here. Okay, there it is, the S9. All right, and I need to unbox this guy because I want to start using it. I need to make some videos with that camera, and if it's inside this box, I can't do it. So that would be the second part of this video. We are going to open up this box. Then I will say hello after I open up the box, show you the camera. Then part 2, I will say hello to whoever's going to be writing me messages. And part 3 is where I talk about anything that I wish to talk about. So it might be very short, it might be very long. We'll see when we get to that point. So down to business. Let's open up the S9. This came from B&H. It's a loaner. Want me to turn the thing up on top so you guys can see what I'm doing? Okay, so I did order, as you can see right here, the red camera because I'm in the Christmas room. So this is what's in the box. Let's move it out of the way of the microphone. So the paperwork, which is standard. And then this opens up this way. It's got a little finger, so I can pull this up, and here is the meat. So we've got the battery. We've got the strap, which I won't be using the strap, but I will be using the battery. And then right here is the camera body. So they wrap the camera body in like a bubble wrap, but this time it's not a bubble bag. It's just wrapped. It's like here. Surprise, it's wrapped, okay? So I'm going to keep that there. and then it's got like a water wicking pouch. So this is the S9. I ordered it in red, so you could see what that looks like in red. It's actually a deeper red than it looks like here. Is there anything in here? Let's take a quick look. I didn't order this with the lens, did I? I don't think so. We'll look. We'll take a quick look and see. Or maybe the, yeah. We'll see if it came with a battery charger or not. Nothing in there. It did come with a lens. Okay, I guess I ordered the kit with the lens. Surprise! It came with a lens. Now I do have lenses for this camera. So this lens is the 18 to 40. And it's an expanding zoom, okay? That's what it looks like. Let's get it in the camera here. So this is an expanding zoom right here. All right, so I did get a lens, so I will keep the lens out because I will want to put the lens on. Okay, now let's remove all this from the desk because we want to have some organization going on here. And I do have to pack it up and send it back to them. So I want to keep everything together, the paperwork, and put this in here. I'll put the strap in here. And now I can remove the box. So this goes down first. Okay. There we go. And now I close the box. I will remove it from my proximity over here. And here we have the Lumix S9 camera. So if I take the kit lens and I take the cover off the back and I take the cover off the front. So this is a full frame. Apparently the cover is locked on, so I have to push this button right here. See that button? To remove this. That's the sensor, full frame, full size sensor on these. This goes right in here. That is seriously snug. I'm a little bit surprised at how snug that is. Okay, so I put it on and off a couple of times. And then that's kind of like the home position right here. Can I zoom that in a little bit so you could see a little bit better? Why, yes, I can. So let's zoom that in. All right, so that's the home position on the lens, that dot right there. And when I move it, it starts here at 18, and so the lens did pop out, and it'll go from 18 to 40. So there's very little movement between 18 and 40 in terms of the size of the lens. But when you're not using the camera, you could fold it pretty flat, which is very nice. Okay, so that is what I wanted to do so that I can actually start using this camera. So now what I'll do is, not right now, but I will put the battery in. I will set it up. And this is going to be in competition with a camera. Let's see, what camera would I compare it to? All right, so this is the Canon R10. Okay, this is not a full frame camera, but it is a small camera. Okay, let me take my iPhone off of there. All right. So this is a crop sensor camera, and this is a full frame camera. So I have to say that the red on here, which is called a crimson red. Let's go back over to the overhead camera real quick, and let's keep it zoomed in. So they give you a little red pad here for your thumb. You've got a LUT button. Let's pull this back into the frame. Okay. So you can control your LUTs inside this camera. You've got an autofocus button. You've got your Q or your info button, which would bring up, I'm not showing you this because the battery's right here, and it is a full-size battery, okay? So why don't you put the battery in? Because I'm going to have to go and set up the time and all that. and then it's got a function dial, and that goes round and round. We've got another dial here that you can go round and round with, and we've got an on and off switch here. So we have the PASM right here. You've got the IA, the Intelligent Auto. You've got a movie button, S and Q, and then you've got 3 memories, C1, C2, C3. So in my workings with things, C3 is always the one I use for the Christmas room. So I did see that there was some, I don't know what you call them, peacocks or something to that effect. And when Randy was here, he saw them as babies. And so for some reason they left, and now I saw them this morning. So I grabbed that camera and I put the 70 to 200 lens on there. And this was just a little while ago, so I haven't even processed it yet. And I went out, took pictures. I put the camera in automatic mode. Actually, I put it in shutter mode because with the birds, you don't want movement. So I put the shutter up like 1/1500th of a second or 1/1250. I think it was 1/1500th of a second, and let the camera handle everything else. And then I adjusted the white balance, blah, blah, blah. So what happened when I just plopped this back here? So when I plopped the Z6 Mark III back here, I just put it to the C3. On that camera, it's U3. Each one's got their own thing. I didn't have to adjust anything. So I'm free to use these cameras. So I'm going to want to show this camera to you side by side with Eleanor, the ZVE1. And because that would be the closest thing as a compact full frame camera. And I'll do a video completely on that. So let's see, this is a screen that comes out and it flips forward. Good. So I'll be able to do my videos like this. And we'll see how wide the 18 millimeter goes on here. Now, I do have, I think it's on this camera, I have the Sigma 10 to 18 crop sensor lens. So I want to put that on here. And I kind of want to see what it feels like. Now, I didn't get the bar like Randy likes to buy the bars that go underneath and everything. So the red camera makes it pretty. And the camera, I think Randy's got 3 of these. He's got a red one, a blue one, a green one. I think there's a pink one and a black one. If I didn't do it already, when I sign off here, I'll put the link to the camera, and then you could see all the different colors. Now, the link for this camera will only be to B&H because this is a review unit from B&H. So I don't think it's fair for me to be pushing you to go buy a camera at Adorama when B&H came in and is allowing me to use the camera. It's only fair, and B&H did ask me not to link it to Amazon and all the other companies when they're providing me with the camera. So that's a request that I can deal with, okay? There's nothing important about it. But elsewhere in my description, there'll be links to other companies. If you use one of those links, guess what happens? You'll go there, and if you buy something, they're going to put a commission, a few dollars, into my YouTube account. And at Christmas, that becomes kind of important. So now that I got this unboxed, I'm going to be able to start using this. And I'll make some videos, and I'll put it up on the Almost Daily Patreon. And if it's important enough, I'll put it here. And I'll also have to make one for the big channel. So that's what this camera looks like. The red, I'm not, it seems kind of silly for me to critique the red color. I would have liked it a little more vibrant. It looks like a dull red. I would have liked the red to be a Christmas red. If you're going to call it crimson red, I would have liked it to have been with more of a bite, okay? That's my opinion. You know, opinions come a dime a dozen. So the camera feels good in my hand. They did put a piece of leather here, so that should keep it from slipping. I probably, and if Randy didn't already do it, he probably has the small rig available and put on his camera already. Now, because my hands are smaller, my pinky doesn't go underneath. Now, Other people will say, well, when I grab it, my pinky goes underneath. Now, where I have a bigger problem is if I turn this around and I grab this, my pinky does go underneath. But that's in a good way. Which camera am I on? Okay, over here. And the reason I say that's in a good way is because my finger's got to stop and start the red button for recording. And if you're walking around and you hit your elbow and you don't have a good grip, guess what? The camera's going to fly right out of your hands. So I use the pinky and the forefinger to pin it. So if I get shoved, pushed, if I trip or something, the camera isn't going to go to the ground. All right? So we'll do a whole bunch of tests with this camera. And Randy has already, I think since he's got 3, he has put tons of videos on this. So this camera has got the 18 to 40. And on this, which is the Lumix S5 Mark II, I have the 10 to 18. So 18 to 40 versus 10 to 18. Now I like the wider because my arm gets tired when I have to hold this out really far. The muscles in here get tired. So I look for a smaller camera, or you're going to get a full-size camera like this Lumix S5 Mark II, or on the Sony, the A7 Mark IV, which they're supposed to be coming out with the Mark V. That's full-size camera. So on here, they don't have the jingly straps. Let's see, do I have a camera here with the jingly straps? No. The camera with the jingly straps is the Nikon Z6. Okay. Why they have jingly straps there? I don't know who made that choice, but this one does not have jingly straps. Okay. When I may say jingly straps, that means they have an eyepiece and there's a thing that just hangs. And as you move it, it jingles. And I don't like the noise. And I don't like to remove them either. It's like that's a mental thing, okay? All right, now on this one, it's got the same type of strap built into the body. There's no attachments. There's nothing to jingle. We do have a hot shoe. Let me remove the plate. Okay, it is a functioning hot shoe. It's not just a cold shoe, as they call it. All right. Now, one of the advantages that the Sony camera has over this, I can tell you right off the bat, is the Sony camera has where you go into the hot shoe and you get this muffin thing, okay? And that is on the, I'm pointing to the ZV-E1, my Eleanor camera, which is a full frame camera, okay? So you gotta, do the right comparisons. You can compare it to anything you want, but do the right comparisons. So I see the 2 microphones there. That means it's a stereo microphone. Okay, so the on and off switch is right here, which is in a good place. Now on the whole, this side of the camera, so in my case, the left side, in your case, it's the right side, okay, there's nothing. There's no buttons, there's no function buttons. It's completely devoid of any kind of buttons, so you don't get a function button. Now on the other side of the camera, which is this side, let's go over here and put the overhead camera on real quick. Okay, so we'll move this into the center. All right, so everything from the hot shoe to this side, for me it's the left. Is it for you is also the left? Yeah, it moves, my finger goes to the left. There's nothing to involve you in operating the camera. I don't see a door. Well, wait a minute. I do see a door. Let's see what's in this door. All right, so this would be the microphone plug right up here. You see that plug right there? That's the only thing that's on this side. And you have the straps there, then the hinge for the LCD. Now, the advantage of nothing being on this side at all is when you're looking at it, there's nothing to block your view of the... Making myself dizzy here. There's nothing to block the view. Let's go to a full camera here. Okay. So when I hold this up like this, okay, there's nothing, there's no wires, there's no HDMI cables or anything to that effect. Now on this side, you have a, they put the small HDMI and a USB port. So on the USB port, you'd be able to charge the battery. and on the mini, or the smallest of the HDMIs, which there's plenty of room. I mean, I don't really see why cameras are using the mini HDMIs at all. I mean, is there that much of a stock where they can't just get rid of them and put a full-size HDMI on these cameras? The problem with the little baby ones is they break. They're so small that either your cable breaks or what's holding this socket in place breaks. So right here is your connections. Over here is for the microphone. Let's look in the bottom here real quick. Okay, so your SD card slot is right there, and the battery is in there. I wanted to see if it was more than an SD, but it is an SD. So the camera is very simplistic. If you like a simplistic camera, this will do really good for you. And I'm not saying that like in a negative way. The camera is too simplistic, you won't like it. There are some people that like simplicity. They don't like 100 buttons. I like 100 buttons. I like 100 buttons. Okay, so the camera is a winner. This back here is flat like a griddle again. And the reason that I point that out is if this was ribbed, okay, with the rib pattern instead of a flat griddle, you wouldn't be able to cook your eggs and bacon on here when the camera gets very hot. You would actually be able to dissipate a lot of the heat because just the rib, the going up and down, up and down, up, is a lot more surface. A lot more surface means it can dissipate the heat. Now, I did not check, but I like my tripod screw to be in the center of my lens. Let's check. Okay, yep, it's right there in the center of the lens. So the camera is well designed. It's supposed to be the power of an S5 Mark II in a very, very streamlined body. And that is a big, big plus because the S5 Mark II is very much an under-the-radar camera. For some reason, it doesn't hit the sexy button like a Sony or a Canon or a Nikon. Yet, for most other cameras, this S5 Mark II will outdo your Sony and your Canon and your Nikon in terms of features. All right? And it's no slouch in the availability of lenses, and it's got a fan built in. So the only negative part on this camera, if you could call it negative, it doesn't bother me, but a lot of people like to have, you know, YouTube chatter, and they go like, oh, well, when you go into the 60p, 60 frames per second, she'll crop it to 1.5. Well, yeah, it does do that. Most cameras do. There's a few that do not. The Canon R8 is a full frame camera. When you go to 60p on that camera, it does not crop it. All right, and the camera here, where is it so you could see it? All right, so this is Eleanor right here. This is the ZVE one. If I go to 60p on that one, it does not crop it. So if that's important to you, you get more heating sensitivity there than you get here. Now, I don't know how the heating is going to be handled on this, but this is most of what's in the S5 Mark II is in this miniature camera, okay? When I say miniature, it's not tiny, but with this lens, you could easily put this in a jacket pocket. Not a problem. So I can't think of anything else that I would like to say about this camera. They do have a firmware update, and they pulled it off the market for a little bit. I don't know if it's back yet or not, but what it does is it removes any limitations on your video recording. So that becomes something important, and it might already be back up. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's what this camera looks like. I'm impressed. I gave you the, even the red dot here is, can you see it? No, you can't. Why am I acting like you can? Okay, so the red dot here on the lens, right there, that red dot is a true beautiful Christmas red. Okay, this is like so faded. I don't want to call it pink, but I could call it mauve. It's definitely not crimson red, and yet that is the name of the color on this camera. Fits in my hand very nicely. So I will do some low light tests on this where I walk around on the sidewalk. All that'll be up on the Patreon channel, which is free. So don't think I'm trying to rook you out of some money or something. The Patreon channel is free. You do have to subscribe when you go there. Alrighty. So I have opened the S9. I have to say my overall impressions is positive. There's some things that are a little bit different that I would have liked addressed. One of them, let me look at the names of these buttons here. Because I do, where I didn't before, but now I do a lot of video vlogging, the mode on these cameras becomes quite important. And it's not, they have plenty of room here to put more buttons. It's not in the way, okay? So a mode button, instead they have a LUT button. So if you want to change from one LUT to the other, where it burns it onto your video clip, it's right there handy. So the positive side of that is that's something most of the cameras don't have at all. They do not have the ability to go into the menu and pick a LUT and have it recording in your LUT. On top of that, even if they do, they don't have a button like this S5 Mark II. I don't know. There is no button to go straight to your LUTs. You obviously could put one of these function buttons to do that, but the S9 has it built in. You push the LUT button and you can go to your Aria Alexa LUT. If it's in here, you can go to the Lumix LUT, which they give you, which I think it's called Very Pretty or something like that, or Nice LUT. It's free, okay? And then if you're the type that buys LUT packages, you're going to push the button and you're going to be able to change the LUTs on the fly. It does have the AF on and off button here, okay? So I would have liked to have seen, let's see, let me hold the camera. I would have liked to have seen one or two function buttons on here. That would have been I like to run a camera quickly, okay? Like I said, we got the peacocks that are running around out there. I put the Nikon in S mode, which is the shutter, ran the shutter up real high, and I let the camera handle everything else. Now I'll know if I did a good job or not when I get the pictures out of the card. Alrighty, so now let's move on to part 2, which is where I get to say hi to you guys. And if you had any questions on this camera, it's a very, very shallow introduction. I just needed it out of the darn box, okay? So I just got AT&T, so I flipped the switch. I hope everything is looking good. Somebody, I hope, will have said something nice, that it looks good or it doesn't. Okay, so Randy saying hi. Glad you're back up. It's amazing. I'll tell you this. I am shocked, huge, with a huge S, shocked, at how tied I am with my brain to the internet. I'm laying in bread. I'm laying in bed. If I'm laying in bread, I'll be eating the bread. If I'm laying in bed, I want to reach out and grab for the iPad that's right there next to my nightstand and just start looking around on YouTube. I have a company called Philo, which is a distributor of 65 channels, and I pay $25 a month or something like that because I cut the cord, as they say. So I have internet, which is what went down, which means nothing else works. I can't get comments. I can't check my bank balance. Even the security cameras that are around the house do not work if the internet is not on. And I didn't know that, okay? So that was a very weird feeling. So where was I? All right, so let's come back over here. Yes, we are back. Carlos is here, Bouquet Bushido. I call it Bouquet Bushido. I think it's probably Bouquet Bushido. Hey, Peter, I wish I could stick around, but still at work. Let me lay out on the couch. I have a pain here, and I have a pain here. And it's all psychological because I'm a dumb bunny, okay? I get too attached to people, and then they cause me pain. Then I need a psychologist. So that's why all the psychologists that I know, they go like, yeah, Peter, make close, deep friendships, because they'll know I'll be back on their couch. Oh, they're hurting my feelings, or blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, so, oh, by the way, Carlos's new channel, fantastic, okay? And when I say fantastic, it's something you should be watching. It's that simple. I'll give him props. He did a great job. I'll put the name back up. So you see where it's in red, Bokeh Bushido? Okay, go there. Subscribe, because he is one of us. Let's start with that, all right? And then the information that he'll tell you is really terrific. Now, bokeh is the depth of field. So now you can see the tree behind me. Wrong hand, this hand, all right? The Christmas tree, the poinsettias, guitar and everything, because I have a big f-stop, it puts that into a blurred mode. That's called bokeh, okay? It's not the correct definition of bokeh, but that's what it has become. Bokeh, the real true definition of bokeh, is you see the red lights on, not the red, but all the Christmas lights on the tree, okay? The roundness and the clarity of the specular, meaning the sharp points of light, is what bokeh is about. All right? So just like 60p and 24p and 30p is not the correct terminology, it's 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, but we all now say 24p, 30p, 60p, 120p for slow motion, etc., etc. Same thing happened with bokeh, okay? So bokeh is basically the amount of blur. And Bushido, I knew what it was, but it's a senior moment. I can't remember right now. Now, what's interesting is Carlos likes to talk about how the camera is an extension of yourself and what you're photographing. It's therapy because it's a team of two, you and the camera, and you're out there and you're being creative, okay? So the bokeh, or the bokeh, okay, depending on how you pronounce it. I just pushed a button on here. That's in a bad spot, okay. Is controlled by your f-stop. And what does the f-stop control? It controls your lighting. So you are controlling your lighting, okay, and if the camera is an explanation of you, it's putting yourself, when you're taking pictures and videos, in the light, okay? You're focusing on yourself. You're putting yourself in the spotlight, so to speak. So bokeh is an interesting choice of words, because you're thinking blurred background and stuff like that, but you can only create the blurred background by controlling the light that goes in the camera. So an f4 lens can only allow so much light in there, and it's going to limit you on the amount of bokeh you can have, the amount of background blur you can have. So this lens is a 50 millimeter over here, 1.8. That's the f-stop. Now look at the blur in the background. We now call that the bokeh, or the bokeh, okay? And I just explained what true bokeh is, because you'll get these hard butts, and they'll go like, well, that's not what it means. The true definition, I mean, they're like the police. You know, it's like, all right, give me a break, all right? But a more generalized term for bokeh is the background blur. But the true terminology refers to the quality of the round and the formation of the specular lights. So in this big red blob area, or even this blue area, there's no bokeh going on here, even if it was blurred out. Okay, so look at the red poinsettias in the back. That's not bokeh in reality. The bokeh is the specular, which would mean the sharp points of light. And you're going to examine the quality of the sharp points of light. Okay, and that shows you whether you have a good lens, a cheapy lens. So a cheapy lens might be oval instead of over here. You notice how round these are, and they're not jagged. Well, that's because on this camera, it's got a pretty good lens. All right, now if I go over, where am I? If I go over to the Sony, I have like a $2,000 lens on here. It's a Carl Zeiss, okay, f1.4, and you can bet your bippy that if it's an f1.4 lens, I'm running it at f1.4, unless I'm in extreme circumstances, okay? But here in the studio, it is running at 1.4, okay? So let's get back to saying hello to the family. Hi, Randy. So this is kind of replacing the Friday Night Live that didn't happen. Okay, so we're doing it now. It's not going to be as big or as popular as the Friday night one because that is scheduled. This is impromptu. This is a surprise. A surprise, I'm here. So you're sounding great and the picture quality is excellent. Good. That means we settled down very good, which is one of the reasons I went live. So Jim Monday's here. Happy Monday. So glad to see you're back online and operational. I'm glad for that also, but I'm so glad that I could go and just putter around. Like, what did somebody ask me today? And I said, I can't go look that up. I have no internet. It's amazing how often I will grab something. I will talk about something, and then I'll quickly look it up on one of my computers or the iPad. Now, I do have a hard time with the iPhone because of the size, okay? The iPhone is small. So I've got this Ulanzi grip on here because I'm going to be toying with this on importing the video from here along with, let's say, the R10 and using the gyro information from here, and I've never done that before. So I have this little grippy thing, and it does have a hot shoe here, and it has a quarter mount screw, so it's able to work either way, and I will be testing that. You'll see all this stuff on one of the channels. Yep. Jim Mundy sent me a Christmas present, so I do want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. He didn't say I could say what it is, but it's a Christmas present, and I like it. Yes, I do. Okay. So I just want to publicly say thank you. And Randy says the Panasonic S9 Crimson Red. Yeah, that's the one I've got here is the Crimson Red one. It's actually very nice. You know why I consider the coloring partially important? First of all, when I talked to Sly, she was most interested, of course, in the size of the camera, but in the colors. It makes it appealing to her because a black camera is supposed to symbolize a very professional camera. I said that because my family is the type of family, as soon as you do this, it's like, no, don't take a picture of me, and they ruin everything, okay? I thought something shook. Oh, it does shake. I can feel the sensor shaking in here. Okay. All right, so for Thanksgiving, I took Eleanor, and the reason I took Eleanor, which is this one right here, okay, is because it's a white camera. And for some reason, I get very little don't take a picture of me when I'm holding a white camera with the 11mm lens, which is what I would put on here. Actually, that is what I put when I took it up for Thanksgiving to my brother's house. So the white camera kind of like diffuses the pressure of don't take a picture of me, or like, you know, they go with these goofy smiles. So all these different colors, like Randy, I don't know, do you have a red one? I know he's got a green one, a blue one. I bet you he does have a red one because I don't think he's got a black one. Okay. So Randy says on the Lumix, the 18-40 is a winner chicken dinner. So that's this here. This is the 18-40. Okay, and let me see what our f-stops are on here. 4.5 to 6.3. All right, so that would be my objection. I don't have, with the newer cameras, especially with a full-frame camera like this, I don't have much objection to noise. I mean, it's there, but unless you're shopping for noise or the noise police actually comes and visits you, it's not going to be that big of a deal. I'll allow the cameras to go up to ISO 25,600, which some of you are going like, oh man, he's crazy. He'd be crazy. No, he'd not be crazy. Okay. You'll get some really good shots. And when people look at pictures, they're looking for their own face or uncle somebody or aunt somebody that they know. They're not looking for noise. We do. And because we need to make videos, YouTube videos, it's something to talk about. So you'll find a lot of stuff talked about that is a nonsense conversation. They need to make a video. If they don't get views, the channel gets kind of like dead in the water. So what is it that they're making a big deal out of? I forgot what it was. Anyway, well, it's the crop of the 60p. It gives you a crop on that. Does it matter? No, not really. You just need to use a little wider lens. But if you're one of these people that I must have full frame and a camera that does not deliver me full frame across the board, and I think this one does, okay, is not what I want. To each his own, okay? But there was something that Jeff was talking about and Randy, and I forgot what the topic was, and is basically a non-issue, except it makes great conversation on YouTube channel. And I don't remember what the topic was, but dynamic range. Okay, it was about dynamic range. You think dynamic range means hardly anything when you're looking at it on a phone or an iPad? Now, if you're looking at it on Randy's 65 or 75-inch TV, okay. In that case, maybe you need to select a camera a little more aimed at bigger dynamic range. But they slammed the A9 Mark III because the dynamic range is not as great because it's got the global shutter. God made 3 fingers, and the 2 of them don't count. It's the tall one that I'm thinking of. No, the dynamic range means almost nothing most of the time. You never say never, right? So there is some instances where it will matter. And if you're sensitive to that, then you need to buy accordingly. Okay. So Randy is liking the Lumix 18-40 lens. Compare it to the Z6 III or the R6 III, same as the S5 II. Oh, R6 II, not R6 III. Without an EV, of course, there is Eleanor. You got a thing about you. I just can't live without you. Here's Shane. Who said Shane left town, went to Hawaii? S9, nice. Now, I know that Shane's got one of these also. So he's listening to see, did he make a mistake? Nope, I didn't make a mistake. Okay. Now, I did just notice something that is quite important. I like the compensation button. Some cameras, they bury it. You've got the compensation button right here on the top. You want to make it brighter and you're in P mode, hit the compensation, spin your dial, and you got more light. So it's actually a pretty important button to have it. Well, it's got it. It's right there. So Randy says the S9 in the tool menu has video record limitations, which should be turned off. Power save menu just above should be off also. You can turn on the LUT through HDMI. So he's getting into the operations of the camera, which I'm not going into on this video. The goal was get it unpacked so I can start using it. And then I will make little videos and I'll go through that kind of stuff. So Randy says I turn on the stabilization and anamorphic set to 133. Yeah, I need to try that. I need to try that on the S5 Mark II too. So even though I don't have an anamorphic lens on here, by going to the anamorphic setting in the stabilization, according to Randy, it's going to make a good chunk of difference. So on the S9s that he has, he will set it to the stabilization on and also to anamorphic 133, even though there's not an anamorphic lens. So an anamorphic lens is the lenses that came out that they used to call years ago VistaVision, where it would squish it, and then you need software to unsquish it. And what that did was it allowed you to use a better part of your lens, and so on and so forth. So it's in the movie industry, they use that type of lens very heavily. So Sammy is here. He's saying hi to everybody. Randy says, Peter, I would recommend to use a tripod when using the camera while vlogging. Simon is here, ordinary filmmaker. Oh my God, happy Monday night, Peter. Simon, there's a guy named Peter Gregg in Canada. And for some reason, Walgreens has Peter Gregg at my Gmail. And every time the man buys something up there, it sends me the receipt. And some of those things are personal items, okay? It's almost like watching, what do they call that? Voyeurism. So the reason I'm singling you out is on the latest receipt, it gave his address. So I'd like to send it to you and see if you could find out what part of Canada he's in, and see if you can hunt down a phone number. I'll call him and let him know that he's buying all these things, especially the personal items. Well, he's a guy, I'm a guy, it doesn't matter. But I don't think I would want to be trailed on what I buy, honestly. So, just my opinion. Louis Lazuka, we were just talking about you, Louis. Sly and me were talking about you, big boy. And I think it was Sly. Was it Sly? Or was it Jim Mundy? Said that you have been pumping out a lot of videos lately. And I said, oh, I have to see. No internet until a couple hours ago. So I'm assuming it's on the Louis Lazuka channel, because I like the stuff that you do. I find it interesting. So Randy says the S9 works great with the Lumix S50 and 85 1.8 primes. Now I have those, thanks to Randy. So I will be able to do that with the S9. And Peter Serrato, a fantastic friend, another one of those like a brother friend, is saying hi. And he's up in the, I guess, the New England area of the country. So he's got nice warm weather. I'm just kidding. Simon, who's in Canada, says, I could try, Peter, but we are hoping to bring down our government. Things are not doing well up there. Boy, that, what is that guy, Trudeau? I remember his father, but I don't remember the kid. He looks too much like a kid. It's like he's, you know, I'm sure it's insulting, but he looks like a kid, a young kid. He went down to set Trump, went to Mar-a-Lago to set Trump straight, and boy, Trump straightened his ASS out right quick. That guy left with the tail between his legs. And Trump said, if you guys can't handle it up there, you can become a state of the United States, and you can be the 51st state. And then I think it went on to say, well, no, you'd have to divide Canada into the East and the West for the balance of electoral votes, blah, blah, blah. I didn't follow all that stuff. But I find it's interesting how not only him, but others, they come out swinging like we're big shit and we're and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now the president of Mexico is like, oh no, the tariffs, we'll set him straight. They put tariffs, we're going to make a mess out of everything. The next day, it's a female, she said, we look forward to working very closely with the new Trump administration. So it's like Trump is the president already. It's weird. So it is a little bit funny, but I did vote for the guy, and he better do the changes that he promised, because I hired him to do that, because the other choice is what she would have done. And I like what he plans to do better than what she planned to do. Hence, my vote. Not because he's pretty or handsome and she's ugly and she's not gorgeous. That's bullshit. I mean, you vote for if you agree with what they're going to instill. And I look at those things, and the ones that line up with me best, doesn't matter what party I registered for. I want the person that's going to do what my mind would like to get done, okay? And that's how I vote. And this time, it was Trump. I agree with 99.9% of what he's planning. There's a few things I don't agree with, but hey, you can't have it all. So Randy says Vlogmas every day from Louis Zuka. Okay. Now, wait a minute. When Simon says they're trying to bring the government down, it's not the way it sounds. Their government, their work's different than ours. If they can't get a consensus, the government's got to realign, regroup, make new deals so that they can have a plurality or a majority to actually pass laws. Otherwise, all it would be eternal bickering. So that's what he means when he says doing that. So Simon says it's beginning to feel like we're on the way of Venezuela. Yeah, Canada's got some problems. The political problems, I have to say, they do a lot of talking, but on a country as solid as Canada, unless you get a real wacko in there, and I don't think Trudeau is completely a wacko. He's a lot closer to being a wacko than I would like, okay? But Venezuela, they took over physically the Shell Oil Company, the Chevron Oil Company. They just went in with the troops, threw out all the management, and the government owns the oil company. Okay, so it's like the government walking into Pizza Hut or Papa John's Pizza, and now it's part of the government. It's no longer an independent thing. And Venezuela, because of the dictatorship, took control of a lot of the industry, not just the oil industry. Okay, now I don't think you've got that happening in Canada. If it is, it's a much more serious condition than I thought. Okay, so Shane, and he's in Australia. Australia and Canada are fighting over who has the worst government. Commonwealth countries have lost the plot. Well, I'm a Christian guy, and I don't hide that. And I have heard from so many people, why did Trump lose the election if the Christians were so much behind him in 2020? It just seems like I believe the election was stolen. Now, I would get ostracized for saying that. That's what I believe. You probably see a blue banner on the bottom. That's thanks to YouTube. They want you to think what they want you to think. So if I say something contrary to what they want said, underneath the picture, they put a blue banner that gives you their point of view. That's got to go. Free speech is free speech. Legal free speech, okay? I'm not saying you shout fire in a theater, all right? Legal free speech. I'm not saying to propose raping women or men. That is not legal free speech. Legal free speech, okay? And these companies, and it got proven with, what's his name? The billionaire guy, Tesla guy. What's his name? Musk. He bought Twitter, and it is geared up to push their opinion instead of it being an open, free speech marketplace. Okay? So now I'm more hyped up, but when COVID was running rampant, I had some real true questions. But you weren't allowed to even say the word without YouTube coming in and censoring you or taking down that video. That should never be, okay? Where is the freedom of speech? And they hide under the fact that it's a company and we can do what we want. Well, when you are the major meeting area of a country, like Facebook and YouTube and stuff, and that is your town hall now, I think the free speech needs to be protected there, okay? Now, when I had a business, or my brother has a business and my dad has a business, we have the right to refuse service based on no reasons. But not, half the country does not meet in my brother's store. Okay, they wouldn't fit more than 5 people in there. All right. So the issue with the bakers, the florists, and the photographers that will not do like a homosexual wedding because they're Christian, and I don't agree with them. Okay, I'm one of the few Christians that other people really get on my case for not saying, oh, well, you know, the Bible clearly says this and that. Well, yeah, but you're a service business. So what they need to do is clarify some laws, okay? So if I were making the laws, I would make it, if you're going to spend 10 or 15 minutes or less and you have an open door where they can come in and buy cookies or buy a cake, and the only amount of time you're going to have to spend with them is 10 to 15 minutes of anything you don't like, okay? Same thing with waitressing. You're not at the table more than 10 minutes for the whole duration. They're going to eat. You're not going to sit there, okay? Now, in photography, where I actually have to go to a wedding, okay? Now, I don't mind photographing a gay wedding, but most of my friends are Christians, and they'll go like, how do you get out of not photographing a gay wedding? So I can't just say what I'm thinking, which is, why don't you do it? Okay? But let's say you wanted some real reasons not to photograph it. Not because I don't like it, okay? Because that is a form of discrimination that shouldn't exist, okay? And the reason that I say that is because the Christians will say, the Bible condemns homosexuality, therefore that is my stand also. Now, I don't think the Bible condemns homosexuality, okay? And I'm not going to get into a lesson on that. It does condemn something. We need to find out what that something is. So to give you a quick example, in the Old Testament, there's a book called Leviticus, okay? And the Leviticus says that you should not lay with a man the way you lay with a woman. Okay, so they say, okay, right there, that God is condemning homosexuality. But that isn't the case. If you study it out, they're supposed to abstain from sex. So the way they got around from, I'm not saying you like it or you don't like it, the way they got around is they weren't screwing their wives, they were having sex with a male. Okay, and God said, no, if I say there's no sex for these priests, the Levitical priests were supposed to abstain from sex, not shift to another kind of sex. Okay, so that would be my argument, and I'd have to take chapter and verse and break it down to make my argument. And you know what? Chances are 99% that the person I'm arguing is not going to agree with me anyway. All right, but I don't think that, if you have to spend a lot of time with someone, like, shooting a wedding would mean I would be with the couple. So the way, if I didn't want to do that, if I didn't want to shoot a gay wedding, this is what I would say, okay? I've never shot a gay wedding. So the quality is not going to be what you see here in my samples. I don't know which one is the woman, which one is the man. I don't know who kisses who. I don't know any of that stuff. And there's a lot of photographers out there that have taken tons of gay weddings, and you're better off with them. Now, if you have one of these activists that want to take you to court and they go like, no, we want you, they're going to try to force you into it. You're just going to, I would put it in my contract, I am disclosing that I have never shot a gay wedding, okay? And if I had done one or two, I would say I am disclosing that I have almost no experience with gay weddings, okay? And the quality could suffer because of that. The posing could suffer because, I might not know how to pose the people and so on and so forth, all right? And let's say I was a little bit of a Christian activist, which I could be accused of, but I wouldn't do this, but I have recommended it. Say, we don't like to do gay weddings, so the entire amount that is the price for the wedding is going to be donated to Liberty Baptist Church as a donation, because Liberty Baptist Church wails against homosexuality. So that should piss them off. What you want to do is have a legal and legitimate way without breaking the law. And, you know, would Jesus shoot a gay wedding? Would he shoot a regular wedding? Jesus went to a wedding and he turned water into wine. So when you get the Baptist group that go, no liquor, well, Jesus turned the water into wine. And then they go like, oh, no, it's grape juice. But, okay, right there in the Bible, it says most people put the best wine up front, so this way, as they get drunk, they don't recognize that you're substituting it with a cheap wine. But you've put your best wine out right away, okay? So it was wine. It was, you know, and of course they argue about stuff like that. So that's what I mean when I say a person that is doing business with the public should actually follow the rules of public business. You don't go to Macy's. You don't go to the bowling alley and see a sign, we're Christians, so we don't allow gay bowlers, or we don't allow gay people to buy our ties, okay? Anybody can shop there, okay? Now, something that breaks the law is different, okay? That doesn't give you regular coverage. So what Congress needs to do is establish some laws that can be abided by. That's what's missing. All we have is the arguments. We don't have the laws. So the gay group wants to make it so that the gays are a complete separate group of people that have more rights than other people. Then the Christian group wants to say that the gay people don't have any rights. Well, we do have a government. The government is supposed to lay down what the rules are. And the government is not the church. It's a country. Okay? So we're not voting for pastor when we vote for president like, Bush did this, not Bush, Trump did this and Trump did that. It's all locker room talk. You guys have never been in a locker room? Holy mackerel, grow up. It's the kind of stuff that gets said in the locker room, and even the teasing and stuff is really bad. Okay? But the news media wants us to pass judgment based on their morality, and the news media, as far as I'm concerned, you can flush most of them down the toilet. All right? So they need, I would have laws that state 10, 15 minutes, and if your door is open for the general public, you can't, if they're a legal human being, okay, you can't discriminate on that basis because it's just not right. Now, if I have to spend the evening with a gay couple, okay, and I have to spend 6 hours with them, now the 13th Amendment did away with slavery, but look at what the second clause says, okay? You can't be put into what's called servitude. And I would say if I'm forced to spend 6 to 10 hours someplace that I don't want to be, and I had some money, I would take it to court based on servitude, okay? So each one is different. But, you know, the Christians have a knee-jerk reaction with homosexuality because the preachers just preach the hatred of the homosexuality. Like, every sin is forgiven by Jesus on the cross, but they make it sound like every sin is forgiven except homosexuality. You could be a child abuser, you could be a adulterer, you could be a beater of your wife or your husband. All that is forgivable. You can rob banks, you can commit adultery. Jesus died for all those sins. But homosexuality? Jesus didn't cover that if it's considered a sin. Okay? So you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You accept people. Now, activism is a different thing. Activism, I shut that down. You come in and it's like you're railing and ranting and this about any particular topic and you're an activist, I don't want you around me. I'm not into activism, especially gay activism or Christian activism. Okay, we won't deal with homosexuals because the Bible claims they're all going to hell in a handbasket. Okay, that's activism. That doesn't belong in the marketplace. And then you see how you got companies that became what they call woke. Okay, one of my favorite movies is Holiday Inn, but because they do blackface in that, which was perfectly acceptable then, okay, didn't see it, and I don't think I'm going to see it on TV. And the blackface is done really well. Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire. Okay, the movie's called Holiday Inn, where they buy this hotel, okay, out in Rhode Island or Connecticut, okay, because the guy can't say Connecticut, okay, and they call the hotel Holiday Inn, okay. So back then, apparently the hotels had floor shows, and so they made a floor show for every holiday, and so I think it was President's Day or something. They did a blackface, okay? And of course, woke Hollywood is going like, oh, you can't do blackface. Why not? Do the black people object to it? I would guess most of them don't, you know. That I can't resolve that. All right, so let's get finished here. Woody is not paying attention. It's not Friday. What's up with that? Woody, you can't just wake up and come in at the end of the show and go like, "What's up? What's going on?" So you watch the rewind. Jamaica is removing King Charles as head of state. Yeah, that stuff goes on here and there. I'm waiting to see Scotland. What's going to happen with that one? Because that was an independent country. The current government doubled our national debt in 15 years. That's big. See? Well, Simon lives there. He knows. He knows what's going on. Randy's answering Woody. It's the garbage man. And Woody's saying, Randy, I know the trash cut took him out. Friday. Thanks. Oh, so you're just making a funny comment. Woody does have a very interesting sense of humor, by the way. I talked to him on the phone. Randy says that the King James Version was translated from the Latin. I trust the Greek language for the New Testament and Hebrew for the Old Testament. Well, me being Greek, I more often than you would think, I go to the Greek word to see what it says. Okay? So on the topic that I was just talking about, and the way they translated it is very not right, okay? There really, at that time, was no genuine word for homosexuality, all right? So if you want the short version of what I think homosexuality is referring to, it's referring to when God says he hates it, okay? I think it's got to do with sexual activity of the sodomy type, and even stronger, sexual activity of any type with children, which would put all this thing with changing the genders and stuff like that, that's even worse than the homosexuality stuff, okay? Because apparently God doesn't like it. If you harm any one of these little children, it's better. It's much better that you hang a heavy rock around your neck and you get thrown in the ocean. So God is very protective of children. So I think we saw the hand of God in this election, because what they're doing to children and what they're arguing to be able to do to children is just plain criminal. I mean, they haven't developed their own social skills or social muscles and their own desires yet, and yet they're doing puberty blockers and surgeries on children. Oh my God, what happens when the child grows up and changes his mind? You know, there needs to be, like they did away with the death penalty for children under a certain age. I don't remember what it is. Might be under 18. I was against that. Like, why deter the children? They should know they can be put to death. Okay? But then I saw a movie, and it was a Hollywood movie, so they have their agenda, but they got their point across, and I embraced their point. And their point was the child confessed to something that he did not know what he was confessing to. In other words, he didn't know what he did. You know how many times when the parents get a divorce, the child says, it's my fault. My parents got divorced and it's my fault. So it was along those lines where this boy thought that he really killed somebody by starting a fire. Okay? And he came to the conclusion that he started the fire, but it showed in the movie how the fire started. So the point of the movie was the child was mistaken and was still condemned anyway based on the child's confession, because the child wasn't able to process the information. Now, based on that, that's one of the few areas where I actually had a turnabout in some of my staunch belief systems. Okay? And that is because a child might think it's his fault or her fault that their parents are getting a divorce, when you know darn well that's not the case. And if you have a child that you're spending time with and the child says, my parents are getting divorced and I know it's all my fault, well, see, we're mature enough where we know to counteract that right away. Sweetie, it's not your fault. Your parents went their own separate ways. They're not divorcing because of you. You didn't cause a divorce, okay? So it's on that thinking pattern where I changed, where there should not be, a child cannot be put to death because they might be confessing something that they have internalized and they've taken it as their own, okay? And they don't have enough smarts not to do that. So that's why I did have a change of heart on that. And on that basis, we have had our show, and I unboxed the camera so now I can start using it. I said hello to all of you. I did my little chit-chat talk at the end, so that's the three major parts of the Friday Night Live, except this Friday Night Live happened to be on Monday night, because Friday night somebody decided to clip my wings, take down my wires. And, well, I got it this afternoon. So the worst thing about it, I felt so disconnected from everything. No, I can't look anything up, can't check my checkbook. I called AT&T to show you what an ASS AT&T is. Okay? What's your account number? Well, I can't log in to see. Why can't you log in? Because we don't have internet. The wires are down. Well, what is your passcode? I don't think I ever set one up. And the man said, well, you're correct. You didn't set one up. So you have to go online and set it up. Oh, how am I supposed to do that? The wires are down. Okay? I mean, these bimbos couldn't understand that my stuff is in the cloud and all the information I need is there. Or you can go online and see how the outage is coming. Really? How am I going to log in? Okay, it's kind of like stuck on stupid. AT&T, they only got half a brain. I'm sorry. Okay, they need a way to be able, the way we finally authorize my account is I do, thank God, I get a paper bill, because you can opt out of that and get your bills by email, okay? And he said, if you could tell me the exact amount of your last AT&T bill, which I was able to tell him the exact amount. I don't remember what it was. And he said, yep, that's it. Okay, I can help you now. Duh. Well, I need you to go turn this off. I said, hold on. You could take your script that you're going to read and throw it out the window. A truck hit the wires down the road, and I want to know when AT&T's going to put the wires back up. There's nothing wrong inside my house. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, he decided he was going to send a technician. I said, fine. If that'll get things rolling, send the ding-dong technician. So the technician came. He found a wire that got unhooked, over there where the truck hit the wires, not by my house, not on my pole, but a block or half a block away. And there's a wire that was jarred loose, and your internet would have never been connected if you didn't call. So some of these companies, if you want some real good stories, ask Randy. Randy's got some fantastic stories on dealing with his alarm system, dealing with the Dish Network. I don't know who else, but I mean, these people are bimbo times 10. All right, we're done. I did my from last Friday. I did it tonight, okay? So we kind of like time shifted. Woody, read my lips. We time shifted from Friday to Monday. So we're going to pretend that today is Friday the 13th. By the way, today is what? The 16th. Dang, Christmas is coming fast. Oh, holy night. Are you going to do a Christmas song? Well, I keep saying no, and sometimes I just wake up the night before and sing a song. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Just between you and me and a dog named Boo, I haven't made my mind up on what I'm going to do. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the liberty, permission to do the live show tonight. I do appreciate it. And in the next 2 weeks, it becomes more critical to my cash flow that you use the links right before you're going to buy something. And when you click on a link to a company, it doesn't have to be what you're buying. Just click on the link from my company, go to that company, then go and buy what you're going to buy, okay? And what that does is it puts a few bucks into the channel so that I can get stuff. Without it, I can't get stuff. So that's why you'll see a lot of people go like, use my links, especially now when there's going to be a lot of buying going on. All right, I think I talked myself out. Love you. And I will look this over and see if everything is okay. But according to Randy, he said everything looks copacetic, which I'm glad. All right, so God willing, and the bridge isn't up, I'll see you tomorrow on Sly, and then Friday on this Peter Gregg character, and then Saturday, if I'm home, on Mr. Camera Junkie. And I'll see you on Bokeh Bushido. Okay, I'll see you on Mark's sports channel, which, by the way, if you're not into sports, his channel is a lifesaver. You can have a conversation with people even though you don't know squat. You could say, yeah, the Bengals and this, and I don't even know the names of these teams. Yeah, their quarterback didn't do so good, blah, 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 because Mark is feeding all this stuff to you. Okay. So, all right, love you guys. I'm going to hit the finish button, and I'm going to go see if I can eat something delicious. Oh, ho, ho, delicious. All right, bye.